You said, waste solid, ChatGPT said. Solid waste, a growing environmental challenge. Solid waste refers to any unwanted or discarded material in solid form that is generated through human activities. These wastes can originate from various sources, including households, industries, commercial establishments, and agricultural activities. The growing quantity of solid waste has become a significant environmental concern due to its improper disposal, the inefficiency of waste management systems, and its long-term impacts on health and the environment. Types of solid waste. Household waste. Household waste is typically composed of organic waste, food scraps, garden waste, paper products, plastics, glass, metals, textiles, and other miscellaneous items such as batteries and electronics. As urbanization increases, household waste has become a major source of solid waste, with rising consumption and packaging material contributing to the problem. Industrial waste. Industrial activities produce a variety of solid waste, including chemicals, metals, plastics, and hazardous materials. These wastes often contain toxic substances that can be harmful to the environment and human health if not managed correctly. Many industries generate large volumes of waste, contributing significantly to the solid waste crisis. Agricultural waste. Agriculture produces substantial amounts of solid waste in the form of crop residues, animal manure, pesticides, and packaging materials. While some of this waste can be recycled or composted, much of it is left to degrade in open areas or disposed of in landfills, leading to environmental problems such as soil contamination and the spread of pathogens. Construction and demolition waste. Construction activities generate significant solid waste, including concrete, bricks, wood, metals, and plastics. Demolition waste, which includes materials from old buildings and infrastructure, often ends up in landfills, contributing to the overall waste burden. Many of these materials are non-biodegradable and take a long time to break down. Medical waste. Medical institutions such as hospitals, clinics, and laboratories generate a variety of solid waste, including needles, syringes, bandages, pharmaceuticals, and contaminated materials. Proper disposal of medical waste is crucial to prevent the spread of diseases and the contamination of the environment. E-waste, electronic waste. With the rapid advancement of technology, electronic waste, including discarded computers, televisions, phones, and other gadgets, has become a significant concern. E-waste contains harmful substances like lead, mercury, and cadmium, which can leach into the soil and water if not disposed of correctly. Additionally, many valuable materials like gold, silver, and copper can be recycled from e-waste, making proper disposal essential for both environmental and economic reasons. Impacts of solid waste on the environment. Land pollution. One of the most visible impacts of solid waste is land pollution. When solid waste is disposed of in landfills or open dump sites, it occupies large areas of land, rendering the space unusable. The accumulation of waste also leads to the release of harmful substances into the soil, contaminating the land and affecting the health of plants and animals. Water pollution. Solid waste, especially when improperly disposed of, can leach harmful chemicals and toxins into nearby water bodies. This process, known as leachate formation, occurs when waste materials break down and release pollutants that can contaminate groundwater and surface water. This poses serious risks to both aquatic life and human populations relying on these water sources for drinking and irrigation. Air pollution. Landfills and open dump sites emit methane, a potent greenhouse gas, as organic waste decomposes anaerobically without oxygen. The burning of waste materials, especially plastics, also releases harmful pollutants into the air, including dioxins and furans, which contribute to air pollution and global warming. These pollutants can cause respiratory problems and contribute to climate change. Climate change. The disposal and degradation of solid waste, especially in landfills, contribute to climate change by releasing methane, which is significantly more potent than carbon dioxide and trapping heat in the atmosphere. Moreover, the energy-intensive processes involved in manufacturing, transporting, and disposing of waste contribute to greenhouse gas emissions, exacerbating global warming. Loss of biodiversity. Improper waste disposal leads to habitat degradation. For instance, toxic waste can contaminate soil and water, making the environment uninhabitable for various species. Waste, such as plastic, can also physically entangle animals or be ingested, leading to death or injury. The accumulation of waste in natural habitats disrupts the delicate balance of ecosystems, leading to a decline in biodiversity. Health risks. The improper disposal of solid waste, especially hazardous and medical waste, poses serious health risks to both humans and animals. Exposure to toxic chemicals in waste materials can lead to diseases such as cancer, respiratory issues, and skin disorders. Rodents and insects, attracted to waste, can also spread infectious diseases, while untreated medical waste can result in the transmission of diseases like hepatitis and HIV. Solid waste management. Effective solid waste management is crucial to reduce the environmental and health impacts of waste. Proper management involves a combination of waste reduction, recycling, and treatment methods. Waste minimization. One of the most effective ways to manage solid waste is to reduce its generation at the source. This can be achieved by promoting sustainable consumption patterns, reducing packaging waste, and encouraging the use of reusable materials. Education and awareness campaigns can also play a role in reducing unnecessary waste production. Recycling and composting. Recycling involves the collection, processing, and reuse of materials from solid waste, such as metals, plastics, and paper. This helps reduce the need for raw materials, conserves energy, and reduces the volume of waste sent to landfills. Composting, the biological breakdown of organic waste, is another effective method for managing waste, especially food and garden waste. It not only reduces the amount of waste going to landfills but also creates valuable compost that can be used to enrich soil. Waste to energy (WTE). Waste to energy technologies, such as incineration and anaerobic digestion, can convert waste into energy in the form of heat, electricity, or biogas. While these methods help reduce the volume of waste and generate energy, they must be managed carefully to avoid air pollution and other environmental impacts. Sanitary landfills. Sanitary landfills are designed to safely dispose of solid waste in a controlled environment. Unlike open dump sites, sanitary landfills are equipped with liners and leachate collection systems to prevent pollution of soil and water. Properly managed landfills can reduce the environmental impacts of waste disposal, though they still contribute to land occupation and methane emissions. Waste segregation. Waste segregation at the source is an essential practice for effective waste management. By separating biodegradable, recyclable, and non-recyclable materials, waste can be processed more efficiently, with recyclables being diverted to appropriate facilities and organic waste being composted. Previous year questions. Question: which of the following is a method of waste minimization? A. Open dumping. B. Recycling and reuse. C. Incineration. D. Landfilling. Answer: B. Recycling and reuse. Year 2018. Question: solid waste in landfills can lead to the release of which of the following gases? A. Oxygen. B. Nitrogen. C. Methane. D. Carbon dioxide. Answer: C. Methane. Year 2017. Question: which type of solid waste primarily originates from agricultural activities? A. Electronic waste. B. Household waste. C. Medical waste. D. Agricultural waste. Answer: D. Agricultural waste. Year 2020. Question: which of the following is a significant concern when it comes to the improper disposal of medical waste? A. Air pollution. B. Soil contamination. C. Spread of infectious diseases. D. Greenhouse gas emissions. Answer: C. Spread of infectious diseases. Year 2019. Question: what is a major impact of improper solid waste disposal on water bodies? A. Increased fish population. B. Reduction in water quality due to leachate. C. Improvement in aquatic life. D. Decrease in marine pollution. Answer: B. Reduction in water quality due to leachate. Year 2021. In conclusion, solid waste management is a crucial issue for sustainable development and environmental protection. With proper waste minimization, recycling, and treatment methods, the impacts of solid waste can be reduced, leading to a cleaner and healthier environment. Proper regulation, innovation in waste management techniques, and public awareness are key to addressing this growing challenge. You said, liquid, ChatGPT said. Liquid waste, environmental impacts and management. Liquid waste refers to any unwanted or discarded material in liquid form generated through various human activities. It includes wastewater, industrial effluents, sewage, and other liquids that are not suitable for disposal in their current form due to contamination or harmful effects on the environment and human health. Managing liquid waste is crucial to ensuring the sustainability of ecosystems and the health of communities, as improper disposal can lead to severe environmental damage. Types of liquid waste. Domestic wastewater. Domestic wastewater or sewage is a liquid waste generated by households, typically comprising water used for cooking, bathing, washing, and toilet use. It contains organic matter, chemicals, detergents, nutrients, nitrogen, and phosphorus, and pathogens. Improper disposal of untreated sewage can lead to the contamination of water bodies, spreading diseases, and reducing the availability of clean water. Industrial effluents. Industries produce large volumes of liquid waste, including chemicals, oils, metals, solvents, and other byproducts. These effluents often contain harmful substances like heavy metals, e.g., lead, mercury, acids, alkalis, and toxic chemicals that can contaminate water sources, soil, and air if not treated properly. Industries such as textiles, paper mills, food processing, and chemical manufacturing are major contributors to liquid waste pollution. Agricultural runoff. Agricultural activities produce liquid waste in the form of runoff from fields that carry fertilizers, pesticides, herbicides, and other chemicals into nearby water bodies. This runoff can lead to nutrient pollution, eutrophication, which degrades water quality, disrupts aquatic ecosystems, and harms fish and other aquatic life. It can also contaminate groundwater supplies, making water unsafe for consumption. Sewage sludge. Sewage sludge is a solid byproduct that remains after the treatment of wastewater in sewage treatment plants. While the primary concern with sewage is the liquid component wastewater, the sludge can also pose environmental risks if not properly treated and disposed of. Sewage sludge often contains heavy metals, pathogens, and harmful chemicals, and its improper disposal can lead to soil contamination and water pollution. Chemical waste. Chemical liquid waste, often generated in laboratories, manufacturing facilities, and hospitals, includes solvents, acids, and other hazardous liquids. These materials may be highly toxic, corrosive, or carcinogenic, posing serious risks to both human health and the environment if improperly disposed of. Oil and grease. Oil and grease are common in wastewater produced by industries like food processing, restaurants, and automotive services. These substances can create slicks on the surface of water bodies, blocking oxygen from entering and harming aquatic life. They can also cause problems in wastewater treatment plants, clogging pipes and equipment. Impacts of liquid waste on the environment. Water pollution. The improper disposal of liquid waste can lead to significant water pollution. Untreated sewage or industrial effluents released into rivers, lakes, and oceans can degrade water quality, making it unsafe for drinking, fishing, or recreational use. Pollutants such as heavy metals, chemicals, and nutrients can accumulate in water bodies, leading to the death of aquatic organisms, loss of biodiversity, and the spread of diseases like cholera, typhoid, and dysentery. Eutrophication. One of the most significant environmental impacts of liquid waste, particularly from agriculture and domestic wastewater, is eutrophication. Eutrophication occurs when excessive nutrients, nitrogen, and phosphorus from fertilizers and untreated sewage enter water bodies, causing an overgrowth of algae. This process depletes oxygen levels in the water, leading to the death of fish and other aquatic organisms and disrupting the ecosystem. Soil contamination. Liquid waste, especially industrial effluents, can contaminate soil when it seeps into the ground or when sludge is improperly disposed of. Chemical pollutants, heavy metals, and hazardous substances from liquid waste can degrade soil quality, making it unfit for agriculture and harming the organisms that live in the soil. Over time, this contamination can affect food safety and the broader ecosystem. Human health risks. Exposure to liquid waste, particularly untreated sewage or industrial effluents, poses significant health risks to humans. Pathogens in sewage can cause gastrointestinal diseases, while the chemical toxins in industrial effluents can lead to cancer, neurological disorders, and skin diseases. Drinking or using contaminated water can also lead to long-term health complications, especially in developing regions with inadequate waste treatment facilities. Air pollution. Liquid waste, particularly sewage sludge and industrial effluents, can also contribute to air pollution. For example, when sewage or sludge is improperly handled or stored, it can release methane, a potent greenhouse gas, into the atmosphere. Similarly, wastewater treatment processes, if not managed correctly, can release volatile organic compounds, SOx, and other harmful air pollutants. Disruption of aquatic ecosystems. The release of untreated liquid waste into aquatic ecosystems disrupts the natural balance of the environment. Harmful chemicals, heavy metals, and organic pollutants can accumulate in the bodies of aquatic organisms, making them unsafe for consumption. The toxicity of liquid waste can also disrupt the reproductive cycles of aquatic species, leading to population declines and the collapse of local fisheries. Liquid waste management. Effective liquid waste management is essential for minimizing the environmental and health impacts of liquid waste. Management strategies include the following approaches. Wastewater treatment. Wastewater treatment involves the physical, chemical, and biological processes used to remove contaminants from wastewater. Treatment plants typically use a combination of primary, screening and sedimentation, secondary, biological treatment, and tertiary, advanced filtration and disinfection processes to remove solids, nutrients, pathogens, and chemical pollutants before the water is released back into the environment or reused for other purposes. Properly treated wastewater can be safely returned to water bodies or used for irrigation and industrial purposes. Pollution prevention. Prevention is the most effective way to manage liquid waste. By reducing the use of harmful chemicals, minimizing the generation of wastewater, and adopting cleaner production techniques, industries can reduce their impact on the environment. In agriculture, implementing sustainable practices such as integrated pest management (IPM) and the use of organic fertilizers can help reduce runoff and minimize liquid waste contamination. Sludge management. The proper management of sewage sludge is crucial to prevent its harmful impact on the environment. Sludge treatment techniques include composting, anaerobic digestion, and incineration. These processes help reduce the volume of sludge, eliminate pathogens, and make the sludge safe for disposal or reuse as a soil conditioner. Oil and grease traps. Industries and businesses that generate oil and grease should implement oil and grease traps to prevent these substances from entering the wastewater system. These traps help remove oils, fats, and greases from wastewater before it is released into the environment or sent to a treatment plant. Water recycling and reuse. One of the most effective ways to manage liquid waste is to recycle and reuse water. Industries can implement water recycling systems to treat and reuse water within their processes, reducing the volume of liquid waste generated. Similarly, treated wastewater can be used for irrigation, industrial cooling, and other non-potable purposes, reducing the demand for freshwater resources. Previous year questions. Question: which of the following is the most significant pollutant found in industrial wastewater? A. Heavy metals. B. Nutrients. C. Plastics. D. Organic matter. Answer: A. Heavy metals. Year 2018. Question: eutrophication in water bodies is primarily caused by the presence of which of the following in wastewater? A. Nitrogen and phosphorus. B. Sodium and potassium. C. Lead and mercury. D. Chlorine and ammonia. Answer: A. Nitrogen and phosphorus. Year 2019. Question: which of the following techniques is commonly used to treat sewage before discharging it into water bodies? A. Filtration. B. Distillation. C. Wastewater treatment. D. Incineration. Answer: C. Wastewater treatment. Year 2020. Question: which of the following can be a health risk due to exposure to untreated sewage? A. Respiratory diseases. B. Skin cancer. C. Gastrointestinal diseases. D. Asthma. Answer: C. Gastrointestinal diseases. Year 2021. Question: which of the following methods is used to manage industrial effluents? A. Filtration. B. Anaerobic digestion. C. Biological treatment. D. Thermal treatment. Answer: C. Biological treatment. Year 2022. In conclusion, the management of liquid waste is vital for protecting water resources, maintaining public health, and sustaining ecosystems. Effective wastewater treatment, pollution prevention, and recycling practices are essential components of a comprehensive approach to managing liquid waste. It is crucial to adopt sustainable practices in both industrial and domestic settings to minimize the harmful effects of liquid waste on the environment. You said, biomedical, ChatGPT said. Biomedical waste, environmental impacts and management. Biomedical waste refers to any waste generated in healthcare settings such as hospitals, clinics, research laboratories, and pharmaceutical facilities. This waste is typically contaminated with biological materials and may include pathological, pharmaceutical, sharps, or chemical waste, which poses significant risks to both human health and the environment if not properly managed. Improper disposal of biomedical waste can lead to the spread of infections, environmental contamination, and other serious health hazards. Types of biomedical waste. Infectious waste. This includes waste materials that contain pathogens capable of causing diseases in humans or animals. It includes blood-soaked bandages, used syringes, discarded surgical instruments, and tissues from surgeries or autopsies. Pathogens such as bacteria, viruses, fungi, and parasites can be transmitted through contact with infectious waste, posing significant health risks to healthcare workers, patients, and the general public. Pathological waste. Pathological waste includes body parts, tissues, and organs that are surgically removed or discarded after autopsies. This type of waste is highly infectious and needs to be carefully handled and treated to prevent the spread of diseases. Its disposal typically involves incineration at high temperatures. Sharps waste. Sharps waste includes items such as needles, syringes, scalpels, and broken glass that can puncture the skin and potentially cause injury or infection. Proper handling and disposal of sharps are critical to avoid needle stick injuries and the spread of infections like HIV, hepatitis B, and hepatitis C. Specialized containers called sharps containers are used to store and safely dispose of these items. Pharmaceutical waste. Pharmaceutical waste includes expired, unused, or contaminated drugs and vaccines. Improper disposal of pharmaceuticals can lead to contamination of water supplies, soil, and air. These chemicals may also pose a risk to wildlife and contribute to the development of drug-resistant pathogens if they enter the environment. Chemical waste. Chemical waste includes hazardous chemicals used in healthcare settings, such as solvents, disinfectants, and laboratory reagents. These chemicals can be toxic, corrosive, or flammable and pose significant risks to human health and the environment if not properly managed. Some chemicals may also be carcinogenic or mutagenic. Genotoxic waste. Genotoxic waste includes substances that may cause genetic mutations or cancer. These substances are often used in chemotherapy and other medical treatments. Disposing of genotoxic waste improperly can have long-lasting effects on both the environment and public health. Non-hazardous waste. Not all biomedical waste is hazardous. Non-hazardous waste includes items like used gloves, masks, packaging materials, and paper waste, which are not contaminated with harmful pathogens but still require appropriate disposal to prevent littering and contamination. Impacts of biomedical waste on the environment. Environmental contamination. Biomedical waste can significantly pollute the environment if not disposed of properly. For instance, pharmaceutical and chemical waste can contaminate soil and water supplies, potentially affecting plant and animal life. Chemicals released into the air during incineration may contribute to air pollution, affecting human health and the atmosphere. Spread of infectious diseases. Improperly disposed biomedical waste, particularly infectious waste, can spread diseases. Unprotected healthcare workers and scavengers who handle improperly discarded waste are at risk of contracting diseases. Improper disposal can also lead to contamination of water and food supplies, resulting in outbreaks of infectious diseases such as hepatitis, HIV, and cholera. Wildlife and ecosystem damage. When biomedical waste is improperly disposed of in landfills or water bodies, it can disrupt ecosystems. For example, pharmaceuticals that enter water bodies can affect aquatic life, causing hormonal imbalances or even death in fish and other organisms. Similarly, chemicals like mercury and lead can accumulate in the food chain, eventually reaching humans. Soil and water pollution. Pharmaceutical and chemical waste, if discarded into landfills or water systems, can leach into the soil or groundwater. This can lead to contamination of drinking water supplies, making water unsafe for consumption and posing a threat to both human health and agriculture. Impact on human health. The improper disposal of biomedical waste can pose a direct health risk to communities. Accidental exposure to sharp objects, chemicals, or infectious materials can lead to injury or infection. Additionally, untreated pharmaceutical waste can cause long-term health issues such as antibiotic resistance or toxicity. Biomedical waste management. Effective biomedical waste management is critical to reducing the negative environmental and health impacts of medical waste. The process involves various steps, including segregation, collection, transportation, treatment, and disposal. Below are key strategies for managing biomedical waste. Waste segregation. The first step in biomedical waste management is the segregation of waste into different categories. The first step in biomedical waste management is the segregation of waste into different categories at the point of generation. This ensures that each type of waste is handled appropriately and prevents the contamination of non-hazardous waste with infectious or chemical waste. Healthcare facilities must provide separate containers for sharps, pathological waste, chemical waste, and other types of biomedical waste. Treatment and disinfection. Biomedical waste must be treated to render it non-hazardous before disposal. Common methods include autoclaving, a steam-based method used to sterilize waste, killing pathogens. Incineration, high-temperature combustion used to destroy hazardous materials, including sharps and pathological waste. Chemical disinfection, the use of chemical agents to disinfect wastewater or other liquid biomedical waste. Microwave treatment, the use of microwaves to sterilize waste and reduce its volume. Safe disposal. After treatment, biomedical waste must be safely disposed of. For example, incineration is often used for hazardous and infectious materials. Landfilling can be an option for non-hazardous waste after appropriate treatment. Disposal in sanitary landfills may be acceptable for treated waste that is non-infectious. Sharps management. Sharps waste must be carefully handled to avoid injury. Healthcare facilities use specialized puncture-resistant containers for the collection of sharps, and these containers are disposed of through incineration or other appropriate methods. Regulations and standards. Governments and regulatory bodies have established guidelines for the safe management of biomedical waste. The Biomedical Waste Management Rules 2016, for example, require hospitals and healthcare facilities to adopt proper waste management practices, including waste segregation, labeling, and treatment. Non-compliance can result in fines and penalties. Training and awareness. Healthcare workers must be trained on the proper handling, segregation, and disposal of biomedical waste. Regular training ensures that all personnel are aware of the risks associated with biomedical waste and are equipped to manage it safely. Waste minimization. One of the best strategies for managing biomedical waste is minimizing its generation in the first place. This can be achieved by using safer, non-toxic materials in medical procedures, reducing the use of disposable medical products, and recycling where possible. Previous year questions. Question: which of the following is considered hazardous biomedical waste? A. Used bandages. B. Expired medicines. C. Body parts from surgeries. D. Paper waste. Answer: C. Body parts from surgeries. Year 2017. Question: what is the primary purpose of incineration in biomedical waste management? A. To reduce waste volume. B. To sterilize and disinfect waste. C. To recycle waste. D. To neutralize chemicals. Answer: B. To sterilize and disinfect waste. Year 2019. Question: which of the following is a method used to treat sharp waste in healthcare settings? A. Autoclaving. B. Recycling. C. Chemical disinfection. D. Puncture-proof containers. Answer: D. Puncture-proof containers. Year 2020. Question: biomedical waste management rules in India were formulated by which of the following authorities? A. Ministry of Environment, Forests, and Climate Change. B. Central Pollution Control Board. C. Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. D. National Green Tribunal. Answer: B. Central Pollution Control Board. Year 2021. Question: which of the following is not a type of biomedical waste? A. Infectious waste. B. Non-hazardous waste. C. Recyclable plastic. D. Pharmaceutical waste. Answer: C. Recyclable plastic. Year 2022. In conclusion, managing biomedical waste is essential for protecting human health and the environment. Proper segregation, treatment, and disposal practices, as well as adherence to regulatory standards, are crucial for minimizing the risks associated with this waste. Effective management of biomedical waste can prevent environmental contamination, the spread of infectious diseases, and health hazards associated with hazardous materials. You said hazardous. ChatGPT said hazardous waste. Definition, types, impacts, and management. Hazardous waste refers to waste materials that pose substantial or potential threats to public health, safety, or the environment. These wastes are typically generated from industrial, commercial, agricultural, and domestic activities and may be solid, liquid, or gaseous. Hazardous waste can contain substances that are toxic, flammable, corrosive, reactive, or infectious, requiring special handling and disposal methods to minimize harm. Characteristics of hazardous waste. Toxicity. Hazardous waste may contain toxic substances that, when ingested, inhaled, or absorbed, can cause serious health problems or environmental contamination. Toxic substances may include heavy metals like lead, mercury, and cadmium, which can accumulate in living organisms and cause poisoning, organ damage, and neurological disorders. Flammability. Some hazardous waste materials are highly flammable or combustible. These substances can ignite spontaneously or easily catch fire when exposed to heat, sparks, or friction. Examples of flammable waste include gasoline, solvents, and oils. If mishandled or improperly stored, flammable hazardous waste can lead to fires or explosions. Corrosivity. Corrosive waste contains substances that can damage or destroy living tissue or materials such as metal, glass, or concrete. Common corrosive substances include acids like sulfuric acid and bases like sodium hydroxide. When released into the environment, corrosive waste can cause long-term damage to ecosystems, waterways, and infrastructure. Reactivity. Reactive waste includes substances that are unstable and may react violently when exposed to heat, pressure, water, or air. These reactions can release toxic gases, cause explosions, or create other hazardous conditions. Chemicals such as explosives, reactive metals, or certain pesticides fall into this category. Infectious waste. Certain hazardous wastes may carry biological pathogens, making them infectious and dangerous to human health. These include medical waste like used syringes, blood-soaked bandages, and tissues from surgeries or autopsies, which can transmit diseases like HIV, hepatitis, and tuberculosis. Radioactive waste. This type of hazardous waste emits radiation, which can harm living organisms by damaging their cells and DNA. It includes waste from nuclear reactors, medical treatments, and certain industries that use radioactive materials. Prolonged exposure to radioactive waste can lead to cancer, genetic mutations, and other health problems. Types of hazardous waste. Industrial hazardous waste. Generated from manufacturing processes, mining operations, and chemical production, this category includes wastes like solvents, paints, sludges, metals, and acids. Industrial hazardous waste often requires specialized treatment to neutralize or safely dispose of the harmful chemicals. Agricultural hazardous waste. Pesticides, herbicides, fertilizers, and other agricultural chemicals that are improperly stored or disposed of can become hazardous waste. These substances can contaminate the soil, water, and air, posing risks to wildlife and human health. Household hazardous waste (HHW). Everyday household products like cleaning agents, paints, batteries, fluorescent light bulbs, and pesticides are considered hazardous waste when disposed of improperly. These substances can be toxic, flammable, or corrosive and should be disposed of through special collection programs to prevent environmental harm. Biomedical waste. As discussed in the previous section, biomedical waste from healthcare facilities, including used syringes, blood-contaminated materials, and discarded pharmaceuticals, can be hazardous to both human health and the environment. Special care is required to segregate, treat, and dispose of biomedical waste. Biomedical waste. E-waste, electronic waste. E-waste includes discarded electronic devices like computers, televisions, mobile phones, and batteries. These items often contain hazardous substances such as lead, mercury, and cadmium, which can leach into the environment if not properly disposed of or recycled. Radioactive waste. Waste generated from the use of radioactive materials, often in nuclear power plants, medical facilities, or research laboratories. The proper disposal of radioactive waste is critical to preventing harmful radiation exposure. Environmental and health impacts of hazardous waste. Contamination of soil and water. When hazardous waste is improperly disposed of, it can leach harmful chemicals into the soil and groundwater. This contamination can affect the health of plants, animals, and humans who rely on the soil or water for food or drinking. For example, heavy metals like lead and mercury can accumulate in aquatic ecosystems, causing long-term damage to aquatic life and contaminating the food chain. Air pollution. The burning or improper treatment of hazardous waste can release toxic gases into the atmosphere. These emissions can lead to air pollution, contributing to respiratory diseases in humans and harming the environment. In particular, the incineration of certain chemicals can release carcinogens like dioxins and furans, which are persistent in the environment and pose serious health risks. Health hazards. Direct exposure to hazardous waste can result in a variety of health issues, including skin irritation, respiratory problems, organ damage, neurological disorders, and even cancer. Workers who handle hazardous waste without proper protective equipment are particularly vulnerable to these health risks. Additionally, exposure to hazardous waste through contaminated food or water can lead to chronic health problems. Wildlife and ecosystem damage. Hazardous waste can have devastating effects on wildlife and ecosystems. Chemicals that leach into the soil or water can poison plants and animals, disrupt ecosystems, and cause biodiversity loss. For example, heavy metals like cadmium and mercury can accumulate in the tissues of aquatic organisms, leading to poisoning, reproductive failure, and population declines. Fire and explosion hazards. Certain types of hazardous waste, particularly those that are flammable or reactive, can pose immediate fire and explosion risks if not handled or stored properly. Improper disposal of chemical waste or e-waste can cause fires, explosions, or the release of toxic fumes, endangering human health and safety. Hazardous waste management. Proper management of hazardous waste is essential to minimize its environmental and health impacts. The hazardous waste management process involves several steps. Waste identification and segregation. The first step in managing hazardous waste is identifying and segregating it from other waste types. This can be achieved through proper labeling and classification of waste materials according to their hazardous characteristics, e.g., toxicity, flammability, corrosivity. Segregation helps to ensure that hazardous waste is treated and disposed of in the appropriate manner. Waste minimization. Reducing the generation of hazardous waste is one of the most effective strategies for minimizing environmental harm. This can be achieved by adopting cleaner production technologies, reducing the use of harmful chemicals, and recycling or reusing materials wherever possible. Storage and containment. Hazardous waste must be stored in secure, leak-proof containers to prevent spills or leaks. Storage areas should be clearly marked and equipped with safety features such as fire suppression systems and spill containment barriers. Proper storage ensures that hazardous waste does not contaminate the environment before it is treated or disposed of. Treatment. Several methods can be used to treat hazardous waste to render it less harmful or eliminate its hazardous properties. Incineration. High-temperature combustion destroys hazardous organic substances and reduces waste volume. Neutralization. Chemical reactions can be used to neutralize acidic or alkaline waste. Bioremediation. Microorganisms can be used to degrade toxic substances in some types of hazardous waste, particularly petroleum-based pollutants. Disposal. After treatment, hazardous waste must be disposed of safely. Methods include landfilling, secure disposal in specially designed landfills that prevent leaching of hazardous substances into the environment. Deep well injection, injecting waste deep underground into geological formations where it is isolated from the surface environment. Recycling. Some hazardous waste materials, such as metals and certain chemicals, can be recycled for reuse in industrial processes. Regulatory compliance. Effective hazardous waste management requires compliance with local, national, and international regulations. In India, for example, the Hazardous and Other Waste Management and Transboundary Movement Rules, 2016 regulate the management, storage, and disposal of hazardous waste. These rules mandate the proper treatment and disposal of hazardous waste, as well as the reporting of hazardous waste generation and transportation. Previous year questions. Question. Which of the following is not a characteristic of hazardous waste? A. Toxicity. B. Flammability. C. Biodegradability. D. Corrosivity. Answer. C. Biodegradability. Year. 2018. Question. The treatment of hazardous waste using microorganisms to degrade pollutants is called A. Incineration. B. Neutralization. C. Bioremediation. D. Landfilling. Answer. C. Bioremediation. Year. 2020. Question. Which of the following is the best method for disposing of toxic heavy metals in hazardous waste? A. Incineration. B. Deep well injection. C. Recycling. D. Landfilling. Answer. B. Deep well injection. Year. 2021. Question. What is the primary characteristic of a waste material that makes it hazardous? A. It is biodegradable. B. It contains heavy metals. C. It poses a threat to human health or the environment. D. It can be recycled. Answer. C. It poses a threat to human health or the environment. Year 2019. In conclusion, hazardous waste management plays a critical role in protecting human health and the environment. By identifying, segregating, treating, and disposing of hazardous waste properly, we can mitigate the harmful impacts of waste on ecosystems, wildlife, and communities. Effective regulatory frameworks and waste management practices are essential for the safe handling of hazardous materials. You said. Electronic ChatGPT said. Electronic waste, e-waste definition, impact, and management. Electronic waste, commonly known as e-waste, refers to discarded electrical or electronic devices, such as computers, televisions, smartphones, refrigerators, and batteries, that have reached the end of their useful life. E-waste is a rapidly growing waste stream due to the constant innovation and replacement of electronic devices in modern society. While e-waste offers potential for recycling valuable materials, improper disposal can lead to significant environmental and health hazards. Characteristics of e-waste, valuable materials. E-waste contains valuable metals such as gold, silver, copper, and palladium, as well as plastics and glass. These materials can be recovered through recycling, making e-waste an important source of secondary raw materials. However, the extraction of these materials needs to be done in an environmentally responsible way. Hazardous components. E-waste also contains hazardous substances that can pose significant risks if not handled properly. These include heavy metals like lead, mercury, cadmium, and arsenic, as well as flame-retardant chemicals, which can leach into the soil and water, causing contamination. For example, mercury is found in cathode ray tubes, CRTs, of old televisions and monitors, while lead is present in soldering materials. Complexity of composition. Electronic devices are composed of various materials, making them difficult to recycle using traditional methods. Components such as circuit boards, capacitors, screens, and batteries need to be disassembled carefully to recover valuable materials and dispose of hazardous substances. The complexity of e-waste also requires specialized equipment and techniques for effective recycling. Rapid growth of e-waste. The volume of e-waste is increasing exponentially due to the rise in consumer electronics, technological advancements, and shorter product lifespans. As consumers upgrade to newer devices, older ones are often discarded, creating a growing pile of e-waste. According to the United Nations, the world generates more than 50 million metric tons of e-waste annually, and this number is expected to rise. Environmental and health impacts of e-waste, soil and water contamination. When e-waste is improperly disposed of or recycled, hazardous substances such as lead, mercury, and cadmium can leak into the soil and groundwater. These toxins can then enter the food chain, causing long-term ecological damage. Contaminants such as lead can interfere with the growth of plants, while mercury can harm aquatic life and disrupt ecosystems. Air pollution. The improper incineration of e-waste releases harmful chemicals such as dioxins, furans, and heavy metals into the air. These pollutants can contribute to respiratory problems, cardiovascular diseases, and other health issues for communities living near illegal e-waste dumping sites or incineration facilities. The emission of harmful gases also contributes to global warming and air quality deterioration. Human health risks. E-waste handling and disposal, particularly in developing countries, often involve informal recycling methods such as open burning and acid leaching. Workers in communities exposed to these practices are at risk of inhaling toxic fumes or coming into direct contact with hazardous chemicals. Lead exposure can cause neurological damage, particularly in children, while mercury exposure can result in kidney and nervous system damage. Electronic waste in landfills. E-waste disposed of in landfills contributes to environmental degradation. As electronic devices break down over time, toxic substances can leach into the environment, affecting soil and water quality. Many landfills in developing countries lack the infrastructure to safely handle and store e-waste, leading to widespread contamination. E-waste management. Effective management of e-waste involves reducing, recycling, and safely disposing of electronic devices in an environmentally responsible manner. Several strategies and technologies can help mitigate the negative impacts of e-waste. E-waste recycling. Proper recycling of e-waste allows for the recovery of valuable materials such as gold, copper, aluminum, and rare earth metals. This helps reduce the need for mining and lowers the environmental impact of raw material extraction. Specialized e-waste recycling facilities use advanced techniques like mechanical separation, chemical extraction, and smelting to recover these materials safely. Extended producer responsibility (EPR). EPR is a policy approach that encourages manufacturers to take responsibility for the entire life cycle of their products, including disposal. Under EPR schemes, producers are required to collect and recycle old electronics, thereby reducing the environmental impact of e-waste. Many countries, including the European Union, have implemented EPR policies to ensure proper recycling and disposal of electronic devices. Consumer education and awareness. Educating consumers about the importance of recycling e-waste and proper disposal methods is critical. Consumers should be encouraged to return their old electronic devices to authorized recycling centers, rather than throwing them away or selling them to informal waste collectors. Public awareness campaigns can also help people understand the dangers of improper e-waste disposal and encourage environmentally friendly behaviors. Design for environment (DFE). Manufacturers can adopt DFE principles to reduce the environmental impact of electronic products. This includes designing devices with longer lifespans, using less hazardous materials, and making products easier to recycle. By designing for the environment, manufacturers can reduce the amount of e-waste generated and improve the recyclability of their products. E-waste legislation. Governments play a crucial role in regulating e-waste management through policies, regulations, and laws. In many countries, there are legal requirements for the collection, recycling, and safe disposal of e-waste. India, for instance, has implemented the e-waste management rules, 2016, which mandate the proper handling of e-waste and encourage the establishment of formal collection and recycling systems. International cooperation. Since e-waste is a global issue, international cooperation is essential to address the environmental and health risks posed by e-waste. Initiatives like the Basel Convention aim to reduce the transboundary movement of hazardous waste, including e-waste, and ensure its environmentally sound disposal. Previous year questions. Question: which of the following substances is commonly found in e-waste and poses a significant environmental threat? A. Lead. B. Carbon. C. Nitrogen. D. Oxygen. Answer: A. Lead. Year 2017. Question: what is the primary objective of the Basel Convention concerning e-waste? A. To promote e-waste recycling. B. To regulate the transboundary movement of hazardous waste. C. To encourage the production of e-waste. D. To develop new electronic products. Answer: B. To regulate the transboundary movement of hazardous waste. Year 2019. Question: what is the key environmental impact of improper disposal of e-waste? A. Air pollution. B. Soil and water contamination. C. Overpopulation. D. Global warming. Answer: B. Soil and water contamination. Year 2020. Question: which of the following is not a benefit of recycling e-waste? A. Recovery of valuable metals. B. Reduction in environmental pollution. C. Minimization of raw material extraction. D. Increase in the use of hazardous materials. Answer: D. Increase in the use of hazardous materials. Year 2021. In conclusion, electronic waste is a growing environmental challenge that requires careful management to mitigate its harmful effects on the environment and human health. By adopting sustainable recycling practices, implementing proper regulations, and promoting consumer awareness, we can reduce the adverse impacts of e-waste and make better use of the valuable materials it contains. You said. Climate change and its socioeconomic and political dimensions. ChatGPT said. Climate change and its socioeconomic and political dimensions. Climate change refers to long-term changes in temperature, precipitation patterns, and other atmospheric conditions, primarily driven by human activities such as deforestation, burning fossil fuels, and industrial processes. Its impacts are far-reaching, affecting not only the environment but also socioeconomic structures and political dynamics worldwide. Understanding the socioeconomic and political dimensions of climate change is crucial for developing effective policies and strategies to mitigate and adapt to its effects. Socioeconomic dimensions of climate change impacts on human health. Climate change directly and indirectly affects human health, exacerbating existing health issues and creating new challenges. For example, heat waves can cause heat stroke, dehydration, and increase the frequency of cardiovascular and respiratory diseases. Changes in weather patterns also lead to the spread of vector-borne diseases like malaria and dengue, as warmer temperatures expand the habitats of mosquitoes. Additionally, extreme weather events such as floods and storms cause injuries, deaths, and displacement, particularly in vulnerable populations. Food security. Climate change poses a significant threat to global food security. Rising temperatures, shifting precipitation patterns, and extreme weather events such as droughts and floods can reduce agricultural productivity, especially in developing regions that rely heavily on agriculture. Changes in crop yields, along with disruptions to the availability of water resources for irrigation, lead to food shortages, price increases, and hunger. This impacts the poorest and most vulnerable populations, exacerbating inequality and contributing to socioeconomic instability. Water scarcity. Water resources are being increasingly stressed due to climate change, especially in arid and semi-arid regions. Changes in precipitation patterns, along with the melting of glaciers, disrupt water availability for drinking, agriculture, and industry. Water scarcity can lead to conflicts over resources, migration, and social unrest, particularly in areas where water is already scarce or unevenly distributed. Access to clean water is a fundamental human right, and climate-induced water shortages exacerbate poverty and inequality. Economic losses. The economic costs of climate change are vast and multifaceted. Extreme weather events such as hurricanes, floods, and wildfires cause damage to infrastructure, homes, and industries, resulting in billions of dollars in losses. Sectors such as agriculture, tourism, and fisheries are highly vulnerable to climate change, which affects livelihoods and economic stability in many countries. Developing economies, especially those dependent on agriculture and natural resources, face greater challenges in coping with the economic impacts of climate change. Migration and displacement. Climate change is a significant driver of migration, with millions of people being displaced due to sea level rise, droughts, and extreme weather events. Coastal communities and low-lying islands are particularly at risk of losing their homes to rising seas, while arid regions face desertification and water shortages, forcing people to move in search of better living conditions. Climate-induced displacement puts additional strain on urban infrastructure, social services, and can lead to tensions between migrants and host communities. Inequality and poverty. Climate change disproportionately affects vulnerable populations, particularly those living in poverty, women, children, and indigenous communities. These groups often have limited resources to adapt to climate change and are more likely to suffer from its impacts. Vulnerability to climate change is closely linked to social and economic inequality, and addressing these disparities is key to ensuring a just and equitable response to climate change. Political dimensions of climate change, international agreements, and cooperation. Climate change is a global issue that requires coordinated international efforts to mitigate and adapt to its impacts. Key international agreements like the Paris Agreement 2015 have sought to unite countries in the fight against climate change by setting targets for reducing greenhouse gas emissions and promoting sustainable development. The agreement aims to limit global temperature rise to well below 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels, with efforts to limit it to 1.5 degrees Celsius. However, political challenges remain in terms of ensuring compliance, securing financial resources for developing countries, and addressing the divergent interests of nations. Climate justice and equity. Climate justice emphasizes the need for a fair and equitable approach to addressing climate change. It acknowledges that developed countries, which have historically contributed the most to greenhouse gas emissions, have a greater responsibility in mitigating climate change and supporting adaptation in developing nations. The issue of climate finance, where wealthier countries provide financial support to vulnerable nations for mitigation and adaptation, is central to the climate justice debate. Political debates around the allocation of responsibility and resources often create tensions between developed and developing nations. National policies and political will. At the national level, governments play a critical role in shaping climate policies and taking action to address climate change. National policies can include measures to reduce emissions, promote renewable energy, enhance energy efficiency, protect forests, and support climate adaptation. However, political will and leadership are essential for the implementation of these policies. In many cases, political leaders are hesitant to take bold actions due to concerns about economic growth, job losses in carbon-intensive industries, and resistance from powerful interest groups, such as fossil fuel companies. Climate change and national security. Climate change has emerged as a significant threat to national security. Climate change has emerged as a significant threat to national security, with the potential to cause conflicts over resources, trigger mass migrations, and destabilize regions. Military and security experts have recognized that climate-induced disruptions, such as food and water shortages or natural disasters, can exacerbate social tensions and contribute to the outbreak of violence and conflict. Governments must consider climate change as part of their national security strategies and collaborate with international partners to address the risks posed by a changing climate. Corporate and industrial influence. Corporations and industries, particularly those in fossil fuel sectors, have significant political influence and have been historically resistant to climate action. Powerful lobbying groups often oppose policies aimed at reducing emissions, fearing that these measures will harm their profits. As climate change gains prominence on the political agenda, the role of corporations in shaping policy becomes a contentious issue. Balancing the interests of business with the need for environmental protection is a central challenge in the political response to climate change. Public awareness and mobilization. Public awareness and activism have become key drivers of political change regarding climate action. Social movements like Fridays for Future and youth-led campaigns have mobilized millions of people around the world to demand stronger political action on climate change. Public pressure has influenced governments to take more ambitious actions, such as committing to net zero emissions targets and transitioning to clean energy. Climate change is increasingly seen not only as an environmental issue but also as a moral and social issue that requires political action at all levels. Previous year questions. Question: which of the following is a primary socioeconomic impact of climate change? A. Increase in biodiversity. B. Food insecurity. C. Improved public health. D. Increase in energy consumption. Answer: B. Food insecurity. Year 2018. Question: the Paris Agreement aims to limit global warming to which of the following temperatures? A. 3 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. B. 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. C. 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. D. 5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. Answer: B. 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. Year 2020. Question: which of the following international policies primarily focuses on climate justice? A. Kyoto Protocol. B. Paris Agreement. C. Montreal Protocol. D. Convention on Biological Diversity. Answer: B. Paris Agreement. Year 2021. Question: climate-induced displacement of people is mainly driven by which of the following factors? A. Economic opportunities. B. Rising sea levels and extreme weather events. C. Increased political stability. D. Technological advancements. Answer: B. Rising sea levels and extreme weather events. Year 2019. Question: which of the following is considered a political barrier to effective climate change mitigation? A. Public demand for green technology. B. Political will and economic interests. C. Scientific evidence supporting climate action. D. Global consensus on carbon emissions. Answer: B. Political will and economic interests. Year 2022. In conclusion, climate change is not only an environmental challenge but also a complex socioeconomic and political issue. Its impacts are felt across all sectors of society, and addressing it requires coordinated global efforts, robust national policies, and active public participation. The socioeconomic implications of climate change demand urgent action to reduce vulnerabilities and promote adaptation, while the political landscape must evolve to ensure a fair, just, and equitable approach to combating climate change. You said. Impacts of pollutants on human health. ChatGPT said. Impacts of pollutants on human health. Pollutants are substances that contaminate the environment and can cause various harmful effects on human health. These pollutants can originate from natural sources, such as volcanic eruptions and wildfires, or anthropogenic activities, such as industrial processes, transportation, agriculture, and waste disposal. The most common pollutants that affect human health include air, water, soil, and noise pollutants. Exposure to these pollutants can lead to acute or chronic health problems, ranging from respiratory diseases to cancers and neurological disorders. Understanding the impacts of pollutants on human health is crucial for developing effective public health strategies and environmental policies. 1. Air pollution and human health. Air pollution is one of the most significant environmental health risks. It is primarily caused by the release of harmful gases, particulate matter, and chemicals into the atmosphere from industrial emissions, vehicle exhaust, and the burning of fossil fuels. Respiratory diseases. Exposure to air pollutants, especially fine particulate matter PM2.5 ozone, and nitrogen dioxide, can irritate the respiratory system, leading to conditions such as asthma, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, bronchitis, and emphysema. These diseases are especially prevalent in urban areas with high levels of vehicular and industrial emissions. Cardiovascular impacts. Long-term exposure to air pollution is linked to an increased risk of heart attacks, stroke, and hypertension. Pollutants such as particulate matter and carbon monoxide can contribute to the buildup of plaque in blood vessels, leading to cardiovascular diseases. Cancer. Prolonged exposure to certain air pollutants, like benzene and formaldehyde, has been associated with an increased risk of lung cancer. Studies have shown that populations living in areas with high levels of air pollution have a higher incidence of various cancers, including respiratory and skin cancers. Neurological effects. Emerging research suggests that air pollution can also affect the brain, leading to cognitive decline, memory loss, and increased risk of neurodevelopmental disorders in children. Pollutants like lead, for example, can impair brain development in children, resulting in learning disabilities and behavioral problems. Premature death. According to the World Health Organization (WHO), air pollution is responsible for millions of premature deaths each year, largely due to its effects on the heart and lungs. 2. Water pollution and human health. Water pollution occurs when harmful substances contaminate bodies of water, making them unsafe for drinking, bathing, or other uses. Pollutants include heavy metals, pesticides, industrial chemicals, sewage, and pathogens. Waterborne diseases. Polluted water, especially from untreated sewage and contaminated water sources, can spread diseases like cholera, dysentery, typhoid fever, and hepatitis. Pathogens in water can cause gastrointestinal problems, dehydration, and in severe cases, death, particularly in regions with poor sanitation. Chemical contamination. Exposure to toxic chemicals such as mercury, lead, and pesticides through contaminated drinking water can lead to a variety of health problems. Lead poisoning, for example, can cause neurological damage, kidney failure, and developmental delays in children. Mercury exposure is associated with neurological disorders and can have detrimental effects on fetal development. Endocrine disruption. Water pollutants, including some industrial chemicals and pesticides, can act as endocrine disruptors. These chemicals interfere with the normal functioning of hormones in the body, leading to reproductive and developmental issues, and have been linked to conditions such as infertility, birth defects, and cancers of the reproductive system. Cancer. Long-term exposure to chemicals like arsenic and benzene, often found in contaminated water, can increase the risk of cancer, particularly in the bladder, lungs, skin, and liver. 3. Soil pollution and human health. Soil pollution is the contamination of the soil by harmful chemicals, waste products, and other toxic substances. This pollution is primarily caused by industrial activities, agricultural runoff, and improper waste disposal. Food contamination. Polluted soil can lead to the contamination of crops, which, when consumed, introduce harmful chemicals such as pesticides, heavy metals e.g., lead, cadmium, and toxins into the human body. These substances can accumulate over time and cause a variety of health problems, including poisoning, neurological disorders, and cancer. Toxic exposure. Direct contact with polluted soil, such as through skin contact, can lead to toxic exposure. Certain chemicals found in contaminated soil, such as heavy metals and solvents, can be absorbed through the skin and enter the bloodstream, causing poisoning and damage to internal organs, particularly the liver and kidneys. Reproductive and developmental issues. Exposure to soil pollutants like pesticides and heavy metals has been linked to reproductive problems, including birth defects, infertility, and developmental delays in children. These pollutants disrupt hormonal and cellular functions, leading to long-term health complications. 4. Noise pollution and human health. Noise pollution is defined as harmful or disruptive sound, usually from urban environments, transportation, industrial activities, and human activities. It can have profound effects on physical and mental health. Hearing loss. Chronic exposure to high levels of noise, particularly from loud machinery or traffic, can lead to permanent hearing loss. This is particularly a concern in areas with high noise pollution, such as near airports, industrial zones, and major roadways. Cardiovascular diseases. Studies have shown that prolonged exposure to noise pollution can lead to increased blood pressure, heart disease, and stroke. Noise stress can elevate cortisol levels, a stress hormone, which can contribute to the development of cardiovascular conditions. Sleep disturbances. Noise pollution is a significant cause of sleep disturbances, which can lead to chronic fatigue, anxiety, depression, and a weakened immune system. Inadequate sleep has been associated with a range of health problems, including obesity, diabetes, and cardiovascular diseases. Mental health impacts. Constant exposure to loud and disturbing noises can lead to mental health issues such as stress, anxiety, and depression. Chronic noise pollution has also been linked to cognitive impairment and behavioral problems in children, particularly in areas near high traffic zones. 5. Electronic waste, e-waste pollution and human health. E-waste, or electronic waste, refers to discarded electronic devices like computers, phones, televisions, and other household appliances. Improper disposal and recycling of e-waste can lead to harmful exposure to heavy metals and toxic chemicals. Chemical exposure. E-waste contains substances like lead, mercury, cadmium, and brominated flame retardants, which, when improperly handled, can contaminate air, water, and soil. These chemicals can cause neurological damage, kidney damage, and respiratory issues in individuals exposed to them. Cancer. Prolonged exposure to chemicals in e-waste has been linked to an increased risk of cancers, particularly lung, skin, and brain cancers. Workers in e-waste recycling facilities are especially vulnerable to these health risks due to direct exposure to harmful chemicals. Endocrine disruption. Certain chemicals in e-waste, such as phthalate and bisphenol A BPA, can act as endocrine disruptors, leading to reproductive health issues and developmental disorders. Previous year questions. Question. Which of the following pollutants is most commonly linked to respiratory diseases like asthma and COPD? A. Carbon monoxide. B. Sulfur dioxide. C. Particulate matter PM2.5. D. Nitrogen oxides. Answer. C. Particulate matter PM2.5. Year 2019. Question. Long-term exposure to which of the following heavy metals is most likely to cause neurological damage? A. Lead. B. Zinc. C. Copper. D. Iron. Answer. A. Lead. Year 2020. Question. Which of the following diseases is most commonly associated with contaminated water? A. Tuberculosis. B. Cholera. C. Malaria. D. Hepatitis B. Answer. B. Cholera. Year 2018. Question. Which of the following pollutants is responsible for causing hearing loss? A. Airborne particulate matter. B. Waterborne pathogens. C. Noise pollution. D. Soil contaminants. Answer. C. Noise pollution. Year 2021. Question. What is the primary human health risk associated with electronic waste, e-waste? A. Skin diseases. B. Cancer. C. Respiratory diseases. D. Neurological damage. Answer. B. Cancer. Year 2022. In conclusion, pollutants significantly affect human health across multiple dimensions. The exposure to air, water, soil, noise, and e-waste pollutants can lead to a wide range of diseases, including respiratory and cardiovascular conditions, cancer, neurological disorders, and developmental issues. Understanding these health impacts emphasizes the need for stronger regulations and effective environmental management practices to protect human health. You said. Natural and energy resources. ChatGPT said. Natural and energy resources. Natural and energy resources are fundamental to human survival, economic development, and the functioning of modern society. These resources are provided by the earth and can be classified into renewable and non-renewable categories. The exploitation, management, and conservation of these resources are essential for sustainable development and ensuring the long-term health of ecosystems and human communities. 1. Natural resources. Natural resources refer to the raw materials and resources that are obtained directly from the earth and are utilized for various human activities. These resources can be broadly categorized into two groups: renewable and non-renewable. Renewable resources. These are resources that can be naturally replenished on a human timescale, such as sunlight, wind, geothermal energy, and biomass. Renewable resources are sustainable as they can regenerate through natural processes, provided they are managed responsibly. Water. Water is a renewable resource that plays a critical role in human survival in agricultural, industrial, and domestic uses. However, water resources are limited, and overuse or pollution can lead to scarcity. Forests. Forests are essential for carbon sequestration, biodiversity conservation, and providing raw materials like timber. Sustainable forest management ensures that forests regenerate and continue to provide ecological and economic services. Fisheries, oceans, rivers, and lakes provide a renewable resource in the form of fish and other aquatic organisms. Overfishing, however, can deplete fish stocks and threaten marine biodiversity. Solar and wind energy. These are inexhaustible resources that can generate energy without polluting the environment. Solar panels and wind turbines convert natural energy into electricity, contributing to the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions. Non-renewable resources. These are finite resources that cannot be replenished within a human lifetime. Once depleted, they are gone forever, making their sustainable management critical. Fossil fuels. These include coal, oil, and natural gas, which have been formed over millions of years through the decomposition of ancient plant and animal matter. Fossil fuels are used for electricity generation, heating, and transportation. However, their extraction and use contribute to environmental pollution, climate change, and depletion of resources. Minerals, metals such as iron, copper, gold, and aluminum, and non-metals such as salt are extracted from the earth to manufacture products and infrastructure. Mining activities can cause soil erosion, habitat destruction, and pollution if not managed sustainably. 2. Energy resources. Energy resources are essential for powering human activities, from industrial processes to household heating. Energy resources can be broadly divided into renewable and non-renewable categories based on their sustainability and environmental impact. Renewable energy resources. Solar energy. Solar energy is harnessed through photovoltaic cells and solar thermal systems. It is a clean, abundant, and renewable source of energy that reduces reliance on fossil fuels and contributes to mitigating climate change. Wind energy. Wind turbines convert the kinetic energy of wind into electricity. Wind power is one of the fastest growing renewable energy sources and has minimal environmental impact compared to fossil fuels. Hydropower. Hydroelectric power generation uses water flow to produce electricity. Large dams or river-based turbines convert the energy of flowing water into electricity. While it is a renewable energy source, large-scale hydropower projects can have significant environmental and social impacts, such as habitat destruction and displacement of communities. Biomass. Biomass refers to organic materials such as wood, crop residues, and animal waste that can be burned to produce energy or converted into biofuels. Biomass is a renewable energy resource, but its sustainability depends on the scale of production and the land use changes associated with its cultivation. Geothermal energy. This energy is derived from the heat stored beneath the Earth's surface. Geothermal power plants use steam from hot water reservoirs to generate electricity. This form of energy is highly sustainable and has a low environmental impact when managed properly. Non-renewable energy resources. Coal. Coal is a fossil fuel that has been historically used to generate electricity and power industries. However, it is one of the largest sources of carbon emissions, contributing to air pollution and climate change. As the world shifts toward cleaner energy sources, coal use is declining. Oil, extracted from deep underground reservoirs, is used to fuel transportation and generate electricity. It is a non-renewable resource that has significant environmental impacts, including air pollution, oil spills, and greenhouse gas emissions. Oil reserves are also becoming increasingly difficult and expensive to extract. Natural gas. Natural gas is a cleaner burning fossil fuel compared to coal and oil and is used for electricity generation, heating, and cooking. While it emits fewer pollutants, its extraction, particularly through hydraulic fracking, can cause water contamination and induce seismic activity. 3. Sustainable management of natural and energy resources. The sustainable use and management of natural and energy resources are essential to ensure that they are available for future generations. Sustainable practices aim to minimize the depletion of resources, reduce environmental impacts, and promote social equity. Conservation of biodiversity. Protecting natural habitats, promoting sustainable agriculture and forestry practices, and reducing pollution can help conserve biodiversity, ensuring the continued provision of ecosystem services like clean water and soil fertility. Energy efficiency. Increasing energy efficiency in industries, transportation, and households can reduce the demand for energy resources. Technologies such as energy-efficient appliances, electric vehicles, and advanced industrial processes contribute to reducing the consumption of non-renewable energy resources. Transition to renewable energy. Shifting from fossil fuels to renewable energy sources is a critical step in reducing greenhouse gas emissions and mitigating climate change. Governments and industries are investing in renewable energy infrastructure to meet energy demands while minimizing environmental harm. Recycling and circular economy. Promoting recycling, reusing materials, and reducing waste can help reduce the need for raw materials and energy resources. A circular economy encourages the design of products that can be reused or recycled, reducing resource consumption and waste generation. 4. Impacts of resource depletion. The depletion of natural and energy resources has significant consequences for both the environment and human society. The extraction and overconsumption of resources can lead to environmental degradation. Overextraction of natural resources, such as deforestation and mining, can lead to habitat destruction, soil erosion, and loss of biodiversity. Climate change. The burning of fossil fuels releases greenhouse gases, contributing to global warming and climate change. The impacts of climate change, such as rising sea levels, extreme weather events, and changing agricultural patterns, can have devastating effects on communities and ecosystems. Social inequality. Resource depletion can lead to inequality, as the depletion of resources affects marginalized communities the most. Access to clean water, energy, and food may become increasingly unequal, exacerbating poverty and social conflict. Previous year questions. Question. Which of the following is considered a renewable energy resource? A. Coal. B. Natural gas. C. Wind. D. Oil. Answer. C. Wind year, 2020. Question. Which of the following is not a major environmental issue related to the overuse of natural resources? A. Soil erosion. B. Global warming. C. Desertification. D. Global cooling. Answer. D. Global cooling year, 2019. Question. Which energy resource is most responsible for contributing to greenhouse gas emissions? A. Wind energy. B. Coal. C. Solar energy. D. Geothermal energy. Answer. B. Coal year, 2021. Question. What is the major environmental impact of the use of fossil fuels? A. Ozone depletion. B. Global warming. C. Deforestation. D. Acid rain. Answer. B. Global warming year, 2022. Question. Which of the following is a non-renewable resource? A. Solar energy. B. Wind energy. C. Coal. D. Biomass. Answer. C. Coal year, 2020. In conclusion, the sustainable use and management of natural and energy resources are critical for maintaining the balance of ecosystems and ensuring the long-term survival and well-being of humanity. Shifting towards renewable energy, conserving biodiversity, and adopting sustainable practices are essential steps to mitigate the environmental and social impacts of resource depletion. You said, solar. ChatGPT said, solar energy. Solar energy is one of the most important renewable energy resources, harnessed from the sun's radiation. It is abundant, sustainable, and non-polluting, making it an ideal solution for meeting global energy demands while mitigating climate change. Solar energy can be used in various applications, including electricity generation, heating, and even cooling, offering great potential for sustainable development and reducing reliance on fossil fuels. 1. Solar radiation and energy collection. Solar radiation refers to the energy emitted by the sun, which is essential for life on Earth and can be converted into usable forms of energy. The sun's energy reaches Earth in the form of electromagnetic radiation, primarily as visible light, infrared, and ultraviolet rays. The amount of solar energy that reaches the Earth's surface is called solar insolation, and it varies based on geographic location, time of year, and weather conditions. Solar energy can be captured and converted using two primary methods. Photovoltaic PV cells. These cells convert sunlight directly into electricity through the photovoltaic effect. When sunlight hits the semiconductor material of a PV cell, it excites electrons, creating an electric current. PV cells are widely used in solar panels and are most effective in sunny regions. Solar thermal systems. These systems use sunlight to heat water or air, which is then used for domestic heating, industrial processes, or electricity generation. Solar collectors absorb solar radiation, convert it into heat, and transfer this heat to a fluid, which can then be used in various applications. 2. Types of solar energy systems. Photovoltaic solar PV systems. Photovoltaic systems are designed to capture and convert sunlight directly into electricity. These systems typically consist of solar panels made up of numerous solar cells connected together. The electricity generated is either used immediately or stored in batteries for later use. PV systems can be grid-tied, where the excess energy is fed into the electricity grid, or off-grid, where the energy is stored in batteries for use in remote locations. Advantages. Low maintenance. Scalable, from small-scale rooftop installations to large solar farms. Clean energy source with no emissions during operation. Disadvantages. Intermittent energy source only available when the sun is shining. High initial investment cost for installation, although costs have been decreasing. Concentrated solar power (CSP). CSP systems focus sunlight using mirrors or lenses to generate heat, which is then used to produce electricity via steam turbine or other thermal engines. CSP is typically used in large-scale solar power plants in areas with high solar insolation. Advantages. Can generate electricity even when the sun is not shining by storing thermal energy. Suitable for large-scale utility projects. Disadvantages. Requires large amounts of land. Limited to regions with high direct sunlight. Solar water heating. Solar water heating systems use solar collectors to absorb sunlight and transfer the heat to water, which can be used for domestic or industrial purposes. These systems are commonly used in residential homes to reduce energy consumption for hot water heating. Advantages. Reduces reliance on conventional energy sources. Cost-effective in regions with high solar potential. Disadvantages. Limited to hot water heating applications. Requires installation of appropriate collectors and storage tanks. 3. Advantages of solar energy. Environmental benefits. Solar energy is one of the cleanest sources of power available. It produces no direct air or water pollution during operation, making it environmentally friendly. The widespread adoption of solar energy helps mitigate climate change by reducing reliance on fossil fuels, which emit greenhouse gases when burned. Renewable and sustainable. Solar energy is a renewable resource, meaning it is naturally replenished and will not run out in the foreseeable future. Unlike fossil fuels, solar power does not contribute to resource depletion, making it an infinitely sustainable option. Energy independence. By using solar energy, individuals and communities can reduce their reliance on imported fossil fuels, thus enhancing energy security. Solar energy can be harnessed locally, reducing the need for long-distance energy transportation and minimizing associated losses. Job creation. The solar energy industry has created numerous job opportunities in manufacturing, installation, and maintenance of solar systems. The global transition to renewable energy sources has contributed to the growth of the green energy economy. Low operating costs. Once a solar system is installed, its operating and maintenance costs are relatively low. There are no fuel costs associated with solar energy, and minimal maintenance is required to keep the system running efficiently. 4. Challenges of solar energy. Intermittency. Solar energy is not available 24/7. It depends on the availability of sunlight, which varies throughout the day and is affected by weather conditions. This intermittency requires the integration of energy storage systems or complementary power sources to ensure a continuous supply of energy. High initial cost. Despite declining costs, the installation of solar panels, especially large-scale systems, can be expensive. The upfront cost of purchasing and installing solar systems can be a barrier to adoption for individuals and organizations, though various government incentives and subsidies help mitigate these costs. Land use. Large-scale solar energy systems, particularly CSP plants, require significant amounts of land. In densely populated areas, finding suitable land for solar farms can be challenging, and land use conflicts may arise. Energy storage. To manage the intermittent nature of solar energy, effective energy storage systems, such as batteries, are required. However, energy storage technology is still developing, and high-quality batteries can be costly and have limited capacity. 5. Solar energy and climate change. Solar energy plays a pivotal role in addressing climate change by reducing greenhouse gas emissions associated with fossil fuel consumption. By shifting towards solar power, countries can significantly reduce their carbon footprints. Solar energy systems do not release carbon dioxide or other pollutants during their operation, making them a key component of a low-carbon energy future. 6. Solar energy in the global context. Countries around the world are increasingly investing in solar energy as part of their efforts to transition to cleaner energy sources. Solar energy is particularly effective in regions with high levels of solar insolation, such as the Middle East, North Africa, and parts of Asia. Governments are offering incentives, subsidies, and tax breaks to encourage the adoption of solar power. The global capacity for solar energy has been growing rapidly, with countries like China, the United States, and India leading the way in solar power installation. Solar energy is expected to continue its growth trajectory as technological advancements improve efficiency and decrease costs. 7. Previous year questions. Question. Which of the following is a characteristic of solar photovoltaic cells? A. They convert heat energy into electrical energy. B. They work only in high temperature conditions. C. They convert sunlight directly into electricity. D. They require storage tanks for energy collection. Answer. C. They convert sunlight directly into electricity. Year 2019. Question. In solar power systems, what is the main function of solar panels? A. Convert sunlight into heat. B. Store electrical energy. C. Convert sunlight into electricity. D. Heat water for domestic use. Answer. C. Convert sunlight into electricity. Year 2020. Question. Which of the following is a major disadvantage of solar energy? A. It produces carbon emissions. B. It is available only during the night. C. It is intermittent and dependent on sunlight availability. D. It requires high water usage. Answer. C. It is intermittent and dependent on sunlight availability. Year 2021. Question. Solar thermal systems are used to A. Convert sunlight into heat for water or space heating. B. Convert sunlight directly into electricity. C. Store energy in batteries. D. Extract geothermal energy. Answer. A. Convert sunlight into heat for water or space heating. Year 2022. Question. Which country is the largest producer of solar energy globally? A. United States. B. Germany. C. China. D. India. Answer. C. China. Year 2020. In conclusion, solar energy is a highly promising and sustainable energy resource with the potential to significantly reduce reliance on fossil fuels and mitigate climate change. Despite challenges such as intermittency and high initial costs, technological advancements and government support are helping to accelerate the adoption of solar energy globally. You said, wind. ChatGPT said, wind energy. Wind energy is one of the oldest and most reliable sources of renewable energy, harnessed from the movement of air in the Earth's atmosphere. Wind turbines convert the kinetic energy of moving air into mechanical energy, which can then be transformed into electricity. Wind energy plays a crucial role in the global transition to sustainable energy, providing a clean, renewable alternative to fossil fuels. 1. Basics of wind energy. Wind energy is derived from the wind, caused by the uneven heating of the Earth's surface by the sun. This uneven heating creates air pressure differences, resulting in the movement of air from high-pressure areas to low-pressure areas. The speed of the wind determines the amount of energy that can be harnessed, with faster winds providing more energy. The primary way to capture wind energy is through the use of wind turbines, which consist of large blades mounted on a tower. When wind blows, it turns the blades of the turbine, which are connected to a generator that converts the rotational energy into electricity. Wind turbines are most efficient in locations with consistent and strong winds. 2. Types of wind energy systems. Onshore wind farms. Onshore wind farms are located on land, often in areas with high wind speeds, such as coastal regions, plains, or hilltops. These farms consist of numerous wind turbines installed in rows or clusters to capture the maximum amount of wind energy. Onshore wind farms are the most common and cost-effective type of wind energy systems. Advantages. Lower initial costs compared to offshore wind farms. Easier to install and maintain. Widely distributed across various countries. Disadvantages. Limited by land availability and local resistance due to aesthetic or noise concerns. Wind speeds may not be consistent in all areas. Offshore wind farms. Offshore wind farms are located in bodies of water, typically in shallow areas close to the coast. These wind farms have the advantage of stronger and more consistent winds compared to onshore installations. Offshore wind turbines are typically larger and more advanced to withstand harsh marine environments. Advantages. Access to stronger, more consistent winds. No land use conflicts with residential or agricultural areas. Disadvantages. Higher installation and maintenance costs due to the challenging marine environment. Requires specialized equipment and expertise. Vertical axis wind turbines VAWTs. Unlike the more common horizontal axis wind turbines HAWTs, VAWTs have blades that rotate around the vertical axis. These turbines can capture wind from any direction, making them more versatile in areas with fluctuating wind patterns. However, they are generally less efficient than HOTS and are still in the developmental stage for large-scale applications. Advantages. Can operate in turbulent wind conditions. Easier to install in urban areas or locations with space constraints. Disadvantages. Lower efficiency compared to HAWTs. Limited scalability for large-scale power generation. 3. Working principle of wind turbines. Wind turbines operate on the principle of converting kinetic energy of motion from the wind into mechanical energy. This is achieved through the following steps. Wind interaction. When wind strikes the blades of the turbine, it exerts force on them, causing the blades to rotate. Rotor and shaft movement. The rotating blades are connected to a rotor, which is attached to a shaft. The movement of the rotor and shaft generates mechanical energy. Generator conversion. The mechanical energy from the rotating shaft is transferred to a generator, which converts it into electricity. The electricity is then sent to the power grid or used directly. Wind turbines are designed to operate at optimal wind speeds, typically between 12 and 25 miles per hour. At wind speeds below or above this range, the turbine may shut down to prevent damage or inefficient operation. 4. Advantages of wind energy. Renewable and sustainable. Wind energy is a renewable resource, meaning it will never run out as long as the wind continues to blow. Unlike fossil fuels, wind energy does not deplete natural resources, making it a sustainable energy source for future generations. Zero emissions. Wind energy is a clean source of power. It produces no greenhouse gas emissions during operation, contributing to the reduction of global carbon footprints and helping to mitigate climate change. Low op.